Alright, I'm about to fly to Alaska. This tour has been a long time in planning, but as much as you can spend time planning the thing, there's always some loose ends, and so it's like an ongoing thing. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm just real hopeful. Hopeful I'll get some good stories, orange duffel bag stories, and that we make all the 50 states in 50 days.
This is Burchell High School in Wasilla. This is an alternative high school that's for students who don't quite fit into the mainstream cookie cutter press high school. Your normal high school, your high school that works for everybody. They don't. This school here has all sorts of kids in here for all sorts of different reasons.
Probably a lot of foster kids too. Right?
That's why we're meeting here today. Is Michelle, the lady in charge of this, said that they have a large group of foster kids in here.
Great, let's go meet them.
We're going to go meet them.
This is an alternative school with 258 students. Most of these students came from traditional high schools in the Mat-Su Valley. The Mat-Su Valley is the size of the state of Vermont, so it's a huge, huge area with 5 different high schools. And when kids can't make it in the high schools that are here, traditional high schools, this is kind of where they end up. So 258 kids. Out of those 258 kids, we have 111 who are homeless. We have 68 who are unaccompanied, which means there are no parents in this situation. Now, to explain that a little bit, the Mat-Su Valley has one of the in fact, at times, it has the highest rate of domestic violence in the whole United States. It's very high for assault, different kinds of things that are family related that are just totally negative in terms of kids. Alaska as a state has 2 times the national average for substance abuse. So I moved back here a year ago from Arizona. I was born and raised here and have been gone for 9 years. In Arizona, 1 in 10 are addicted. In the state of Alaska, 2 out of 10. So that we know that contributes to the challenge. And then the third thing is that during the months of November, December, and January, the mental health, the demand on our mental health system because of seasonal affective disorder, depression, and different things that are related to holidays is also one of the highest in the nation. So we kind of have this triple whammy. And this subcategory of kids who are being having all kinds of life experiences that are really less than ideal. I have girls whose mothers traded them for drugs when they were younger, and who now, you know, right now my favorite lives with a boyfriend, which is safe for her. But there are certain things when you're 16 and 17 that you can't do on your own, so she has to go back to her mom to get permission for a driver's license, for example. The garbage bag that you see on the floor in my office is the personal belongings for a 19-year-old who was here yesterday. And he was waiting at the steps of the school when the janitor got here at 6 o'clock this morning, in the morning, and said his mother had kicked him out, and she's a drug addict. So, you know, lots of times when that happens, the mom gets a boyfriend who can provide the drugs, and the boyfriend doesn't like the kid, so the kid has to go. So, and that's what he said happened. And so he needed a place to put his things, and he said, "Can I just leave my stuff in your office? I know I can't spend the night here. I'll find somewhere to spend the night, and if you can keep my stuff safe, that'd be great." And so I periodically have stuff around in my office that belongs to kids that are just trying to keep their worldly belongings in one place, or keep track of the things that are the most important, and we kind of lock them up in here for them, and they come and go. But we have, the only shelter that we have offers services to kids 13 to 18 who have parental permission, which basically for us offers nothing. We don't have any kids 13 to 18 whose parents are going to say, "Yeah, I'll sign them up to live in the shelter." They don't do that. If they're collecting welfare, they want the kids at home, and they don't want any documentation that they're elsewhere because they lose benefits if they don't have the kid there. Or, you know, they're battling with the kid over, you know, custody issues with another parent or something like that. So,
or just control.
or just control. And so that is very challenging for us. And anybody who's over the age of 18, the nearest shelter is Anchorage. We've been able to be creative. I jumped into this in January of this year, and what prompted me to do that was that we had a group of 8 young boys who were all homeless last January, and we found places. It was a weekend. We were all leaving Friday afternoon for the weekend, and we found places for all of them to go except one, and we ended up giving him a sleeping bag so he could sleep in his car. And maybe some people are wired to be able to do that and say, here you go sleep in your car. We don't have anything else, but I'm not one of them. And so I went to the Valley Homeless Coalition and said, okay, what do you got for kids? What are we doing for kids right now? And they said, well, we have a 10-year plan. And I said, I need a 10-month plan. We need to have a place for these kids by October when the snow flies, so that, when this guy's mom kicks him out and he shows up at the school at 6 o'clock in the morning, we can say, look, here's a place you can go. You can sleep, you can have a shower, whatever it is. And we've made some inroads on that, but we still have a long way to go. We have families who have stepped forward, and they're providing what are called host homes, where they take a child home. And sometimes they keep them for 2 weeks, and sometimes they keep them for 2 months. So we're just getting that off the ground and trying to figure out whether we need to do background checks or how we need to manage that.
Very complicated stuff, too.
Yes. And a lot of the kids, the one that we were speaking about outside the door is an 18-year-old mother. She has a 2-year-old little boy, and she lives with an alcoholic grandfather. So on the weekends, she goes in to stay with other family members in Anchorage. But it's not a good living situation for her or for her son. And she doesn't want to do a host home with her baby. She doesn't know what's there. She said if it was herself, she would go. But taking her baby into a family situation that she's not sure of isn't her idea of the deal. So in that case, what we do is try to find apartments. And sometimes there are apartments that people will donate for a couple months or rent to us cheap, or we can find roommates for them.
Do you have any kids that, what are the types of things that turn the kids around? Not that the kids need turning around, more the parents need turning around, but what, can you tell me like a bright spot, like a success story?
Well, our most recent success story was with a host home, and it was a 19-year-old boy who will be done in December, and he was hitchhiking from Anchorage because his family moved in there. And that's our brightest story, is that if a couple stepped forward and said, we had a student who graduated from this high school last year, Burchell High School, and we would like to offer the bedroom that he's in for a student here that was struggling. And we said, we have just the student. And they met, and 15 minutes later, I went to get the paperwork for them to each fill out, and when I came back 15 minutes later, they said, oh, we think this is going to be good. And, hugged each other. And he went home with them that night and didn't go home to Anchorage for 2 weeks. I mean, he was just, and he told me on Friday that he's never lived a lifestyle like he does with this family, that most of his life he's lived without running water, and that he has not just running water. He said, I can take a shower whenever I want, and I have my own room. So, and at 19, that's a big deal for him. So that's one of the most fun things. We have several families that we've mediated with, where they come in and I sit down and meet with them. And my background is in addiction. I have a master's degree in a field called health psychology that's pending my thesis, but the coursework and practicum are done. And specialize in addiction. So I've done a lot of family mediation kind of things in terms of counseling. And
what gave you a passion for what you do?
Growing up here and looking around, and I have a big family with lots of people and lots of interaction, and everybody kind of helps everybody else, and there's always somewhere to go. There's always somebody to help you with what you need, I really felt like the addiction piece in this community was huge. And after about 5 years in a hospital-based setting, I thought, oh man, look what this is doing to the children involved in these situations. So I moved into adolescent treatment. And then when we left Alaska and I went to Arizona, I went into more of a life coaching perspective, which kind of coincided with having a little girl, and the hardcore counseling weighed on me a little bit more with her present there. It changed me a little bit, and I wanted to do more work on solutions.
Right.
So, but the alcoholism is so, it's such a part of, alcohol and drugs both are such a part of the culture here. And for a lot of these kids, they start smoking pot when they're 6, 7, 8 years old. I've had kids as young as 8 in treatment for cocaine addiction. I had an 11-year-old whose mother taught her how to shoot heroin. I mean, you think about that. You look at a child who's 11 and you just go, she shouldn't even know what that is.
Yeah.
I mean, she should be in 5th grade thinking about paper dolls and Nancy Drew mysteries or something, you know. So there's definitely a subculture here that doesn't offer a lot of choices for a lot of kids.
Yeah.
So,
did you have a hero or a role model growing up that affected your life? I'm asking with the foster kids that I can interview, like the ones that have aged out.
Right.
I'm going to ask people, you know, who was the one person that cared about you? And I have a sense that that's probably me. It's probably me.
Oh.
I have a sense that you're probably that one person for a lot of people. And I'm going to ask the question, who's the one person that's cared about you that maybe turned your life around and made you, see a light at the end of the tunnel? Do you have a person like that?
That's a really hard question, because the first person that I thought of was my mom. My mom is a leader in our family, and she was always a community leader when I was younger and was involved in helping kids and doing things when I was in school to make it better for kids that didn't have as much. And she didn't grow up with much, so I knew that was part of her story. But I think, as I went along, there were different people. I had coaches at different times that were that said, you can do it. You can do whatever you put your mind to. And a particular college professor that helped me publish some research in the field of alcohol and drugs when I was in undergraduate school. And I told him that this is what I wanted to do, and this is how I wanted to do it in my home community. And he said, this is what you need to do. Let's do it together. Yeah. And so we published several pieces of research together, and as an undergraduate, I traveled around the country presenting that research. And he was an inspiration for me. And in terms of identifying the goal and then getting the data to back up what you want to do. And so there are different people kind of at different levels that all kind of contribute to bringing this project together and saying, okay, here we are now. We need $1 million facility in this community. And most people don't even know that these kids are out there. Yeah. I mean, they're invisible. And you know what the heartbreaking thing is? They're proud. So I have a 17-year-old who I filed 5 different OCS reports on last spring. His mother is...
OCS means?
Child Protective Services.
Right.
And they did an investigation, but what they end up saying with the 17-year-old is, we're really sorry, but we don't have the energy or the manpower to defend this 17-year-old. He probably just needs to leave. And when I say he doesn't have anywhere to go, he doesn't have a dad, he doesn't have a grandma, he doesn't have anywhere to go. What are our other options? They say, well, we don't have foster homes for 17-year-old kids. So I've worked with him for coming up on a year, and one of the things for him that I think is critical is he never wants anyone to know that he's homeless. He never wants anyone to know that he, we get clothing vouchers, and I take him to go shopping for clothes, and he doesn't want anyone to know that that's what we're doing. And they're very proud. So it's hard to get the word out.